Hey everyone. So I'm Kari the Mortician, and we are back for our weekly. We're doing about a weekly, almost bi-weekly some of these weeks, interview with different people within the business, kind of connected to the business somehow that you guys are asking to talk to, that are providing new memorial ideas, providing different methods of um, disposition, all sorts of things. I've been having the most fun having these interviews. One, I'm not going to lie, it's kind of nice to do a live. I don't have to edit anything. It's beautiful. I get to share some good content with you. I get to meet new people, learn about, I get to learn about people that I've maybe known for a while and are learning more about them through these interviews. And it's just been amazing. Today, we're going to be interviewing Mitchell McNett, who is a country boy, middle of the US. I think he's in Iowa or Kansas. I'm not going to don't quote me. I try not to look into too much about people because I like to learn as I'm asking them. I know enough to know enough. I had met Mitchell a few years back. I want to say it's been even like 6 years ago at a reconstructive training that was done by Matt Smith. We learned how to reconstruct different destructions to skulls and to the body, how to fill wounds, different things like that. And we met at that. We've met one time in person and we just kind of stayed in touch. And he recently opened a crematory. So we're going to be talking about that. He actually texted me a little bit ago, got caught out on a death call. This is our job. We are funeral directors that are ready at a whim's notice to go on death calls. So as soon as he's able, he's going to jump on to the call with us and we'll learn more about how he has started this pet crematory, all about a pet crematory, and just learn more about that. So we are approaching, I'll just talk until he gets on. It's a busy season. Holiday is busy. And it's not because deaths increase at holiday time. I have never in my career seen that deaths increase at holiday time. Actually, the opposite. I see a lot of people hold out through the holidays, especially Christmas, that people have will to live. And you hear that term, but it's so true, where we'll see people who are in this decline and they hold out through the holiday that week after Christmas, and January gets very busy usually. But this time of year, why it gets very busy is because we have so many days that we're shut down. Not us as funeral home, but look at Thanksgiving. Typically Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, your county clerk is closed, which means no death certificates for 5 days there. Cemetery offices are closed in some places. So we can't even schedule a burial. So everything kind of goes on hold. Medical examiners' offices gain permits are hard to get. So a lot of what we do goes on hold, but the people dying does not go on hold. So we're still bringing people into our care. We're still meeting families, but being able to schedule, we're not able to do. Being able to get permits to do cremations, we're not able to do. So that creates this kind of backlog. So then when we get new calls after the holiday, we're already backlogged. And so it gets tough. And then families that we're serving during this time are saying, we don't want to have a service right around Thanksgiving. Remember that around Thanksgiving time. So, why don't we just wait and we'll have it in 2 weeks? That's great. Then you get into after Thanksgiving is busy time for everyone with holidays. And a lot of people are waiting now for the weekend. Oh, Saturdays are going to be better for everyone. It's not. Think about what your Saturdays look like now without a death in your family. And think about how you have holiday parties almost every weekend. You have get togethers almost every weekend through much of November and most of December. So it becomes hard for people to even attend funerals because of what they already have on schedule. This time of year gets bananas. Bananas for us, bananas for the family. It just gets more challenging. You try and get pastors and things in there. Well, they have a lot of extra services at their churches because of the holiday. it just gets nuts. So it's not that there's an increase in deaths around this time. It's just that things get backlogged and a lot of places are closed. So if you're just joining, we're waiting. Mitchell's going to be joining us. He had a death call. He got called out on because that is our business, is we get called on death calls. Can you trust that the pet crematory and the preparation of ashes are legit? I can tell you from the human side, the ones that I've worked with, yes, I feel completely confident in what they do and what they're doing, because I know the people that are running it, and I believe that what they're doing is on the up and up. There is a whole lot of paperwork to track even pets at the crematory. When you go to a pet crematory, they can do commingled cremations if it is something that you allow and sign up for. And they are often discounted because you're doing multiple. They're not stockpiling them on top of each other, but they may do smaller animals, multiple during one cremation round. So, the parakeets in one corner in a tray, or a pan. You might have a small dog in another pan. You might have a small dog. So those type of things, they're not commingled. They're just being cremated at the same time, may occur. You may also do a mass cremation. Sometimes happens from veterinaries' offices or animal shelters, where they put down a lot of animals at the same time. They send them all together, and then that is one large cremation. So the crematory that I work with does only sole cremations, one at a time, one animal at a time. They don't do contracts with large veterinary clinics for the mass cremations. So everywhere is going to be a little different. It depends on the crematory you use. If you're looking for the cheapest thing, you may be getting the cheapest thing for a reason. I say it over and over and over again. If you expect that you're getting the top-notch thing for the cheapest price, that's not going to work there. So it's not that they're shortchanging you. It's not that they're doing illegal things. It's not they're doing bad things, but maybe it's less expensive for a reason. So ask the same questions to everywhere that you're talking to about your cremation for your pet or even your loved one. Same thing across the board. To me, my pets are my loved ones. I would treat them the same in death or not. I did bury my pet, my dog, a few years back, and then we actually disinterred him, dug him up. It's been 2 years ago now, because my parents, the only place they could expand their home to make it their long-term home for aging was over where he was buried. So we wanted to make sure he didn't get disturbed during the build. We did the disinterment. You can see it on my channel. We videoed the whole thing. Everyone asks about that. Like, why didn't you just pull up the bundle and cremate it? I didn't want all the dirt in there. All that dirt is not great. So I pulled out all the bones and placed them all in a new box. To me, I wanted to do that. Everyone might think that that's crazy. They may judge that. They may think that's outlandish, but I wanted to do that. I didn't want all this old, dirty stuff in with him for cremation. And so I pulled all the bones out. It was also fascinating. I'm fascinated by the body and what happens after death and all of it. And so to me, it was just natural to do that. So, just asking Mitch how he's doing. And then I took him and he was cremated. It was an odd process because I've never had one of my loved ones cremated. It's never been something in our family we've done. I don't know how much I connect to the cremated remains after. I did take them and have them made into parting stones out in New Mexico. And so we have all these stones that are his stones. I love that if I throw them in the lake, he's not going to dissipate out everywhere. That stone is going to sink and stay there right where I put him. So I kind of love that about it. But it was an odd process for me to cremate my animal because I just never had. We had always buried. Growing up, we buried everything. We buried our turtles, our fish, you name it, we buried it. They're all out in my parents' yard in a different area. And so, yeah, it's bananas. Mitch is going to be joining us. Mitchell McNett is going to be joining us here shortly to tell us about starting a pet crematory. He went out on a death call, though. He is a funeral director as well and went out on a death call. So he's going to be joining us here shortly. Kind of part of the business, right? How many of you have had your pets cremated and are interested in the behind the scenes of that? Yes, a owner should ask about private versus partitioned private. And that's exactly what that would be, where each animal is in their own individual area. So you're getting back your cremated remains of your pet, but they're in one unit together. I would say pet people are kind of bonker people because we go over the top. It's amazing that for our human loved ones, to me, that we're like, ooh, I don't know, I can't spend the extra $5. But then for pet, it's like, here is all my money in the world and take care of my pet. It's so wild to me. Just, I love, so funeral directing is kind of like a huge social experiment, seeing how everyone reacts and does things. And so I love watching how pet owners and family members for humans, kind of go through the process and everything. It's wild. I'm just reading some of your comments that you guys are posting. He will be joining us here shortly. I'm going to be sharing a video tomorrow, probably on all my channels. A bit of an emotional video I filmed a few weeks ago. I always hold videos. So if I post a video, it's typically not going to be the day I record it, because I don't want there to be any correlation with any family I'm serving, or anyone to think that I posted it about them, that I'm serving in that moment. So I try and completely disconnect it from the families I'm serving at the time, because I don't want there to be any connection to them. So I'm going to be posting that tomorrow. And you guys don't see me emotional very often. It's probably one of the most emotional I've been in the last few months, honestly. Was a few weeks ago. I'm doing good, Jeremy. Thank you. It's been a busy week. I've been working my days off just to help out, because it's been busy. Just people taking, end of the year, everybody's trying to take their PTO, get it cashed in, so you have less staff. And it's just been busy at the funeral home. We've had a lot of repeat families where I've served somebody in the family or somebody else has. And so when they come back, they may ask for you. They want to talk to you, which is wonderful. It feels like you did something right back in the day. It's awesome to have a family reach out to you again and want to work with you, want to work with your funeral home, want your support, want your help when another loved one dies. Like, that's the biggest nod to you as a professional, I think, that you can get, is someone coming back to you because they want your services again. So I love that. I love it so much, because it just is, it acknowledges that what we're doing is right for them and that they had a good experience. You can always call a funeral home director, take your pet to the funeral home yourself, and save some money. I always help my owners with that. Exactly. So when it comes to a pet death, you don't have to go through the veterinary's office. They may offer it, but you can take your pet directly to a crematory. You can deal directly with a crematory yourself and make sure everything's set the way you want it set, make sure everything is the way you want it done. And so they may not ask questions or be able to answer questions that maybe you want to ask. And I always also think it's nice to see where you're taking your pet or your loved one. I'm a big proponent of see where it's happening. I wouldn't like send my kid off to school without having seen the school. I don't know if it's a great, that's a great analogy, but to me, it's like, you're not going to send off your loved one and then not want to know where they're at, right? I would want somebody to know where I was at. A lot of pet lovers here, guys. A lot of pet lovers, a lot of animals. Have a family bringing their animal in to say goodbye to their human this weekend. Really, I love when people bring in their pets. I think it's super important, especially if the person died in the hospital or in a nursing home away from the pet and the pet didn't get the chance to say goodbye. I love if families ask, because I'm giving you permission right now. Ask the question, can I bring my animal in to say goodbye to their human? It's so important. That animal grieves, the animal will look for their human. I mean, think about, like, if I go into pee for a minute, my dog thinks the world has ended if he can't get to me. Can you imagine if I just disappeared off the face of the earth? Like, he's going to look for me for a very, 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 very long time if he doesn't know that I'm dead. And all it takes is one sniff, one look, and they know. Animals know instinctually that you are gone from that body. They just need one look, one whiff, and they'll be good. But otherwise, they're going to just keep looking and looking and looking and looking and looking. So I am a huge advocate for allowing animals to come and be part of the goodbye. Typically in a private moment, like it's outside of visitation or something. But yeah, my boy right now has some kind of a blood tumor. Aw. So sad when when your poor babies are hurting. Can an animal be embalmed? If you find someone that can embalm an animal, yes, you probably could. They're just going to decompose. It's not like taxidermy. They're not going to be there forever. It's a temporary preservation, just like with humans. So what am I doing on free time if not working? Hanging out with my kids. Right now I'm hooked on Dexter. Never had seen Dexter, just started it. So that's Josh and I's thing. Like, when we finally have a down minute, we'll watch 1 or 2 episodes of Dexter and just breathe. And like, we chat during it, but it's just kind of a nice, fun show to watch right now. Yeah. Ooh, Mitchell is here. I'm adding you, Mitchell.
Hi.
Hi, my friend.
Yeah. How are you doing?
Good. Welcome.
Yeah. Sorry about the death call.
No, don't apologize for a death call. I've explained to everybody where you are because this is what we do. So we're live on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So yeah. Well, introduce yourself.
I'm Mitchell McNett. I'm 32. I am a funeral director in Wisconsin, Iowa, and Illinois. Kind of live in the corner right down by Wisconsin, Dubuque, Iowa area. And I recently started a pet crematory. That's why I'm here.
Yeah. How long have you been licensed?
Funeral?
Yeah.
2018. At 2018, okay. 6 years. In Wisconsin, and then I got Iowa and Illinois later.
Nice. Yeah, I just left Tyler at the funeral home and said, hey, I'm going home to interview Mitchell. And he goes, oh my gosh. So I work with someone that Mitchell graduated with.
Oh yeah, okay.
Which is awesome. Crazy. Yeah.
It's a small world.
And I was explaining, you and I met, I think it's like 6 years ago at the restoration thing. I think it's been 6 years. I don't even know. It feels like 2 years ago, but it's been a while. So yeah. Now, how long have you been at the funeral home that you're at?
Been about 9 years. About 2015 I started. It was formerly Kevin Casey Funeral Home. And then he retired in 2020 and I bought it from him. So it's just a small town funeral home, like 80 calls. So we work.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect. How did you start working for, like, was that your ambition or how did you start working for him?
His son married my sister. And when I was in high school, I was kind of recruited to help move people and put them in caskets. This is before he had a lift and everything. So I was a bigger guy. So it was kind of like my dad was the door guy, and they'd come home and they're like, "Hey, would you help us lift this gentleman and put him in a casket?" And my brother's like, "Absolutely not." And I was like, "Sure." You know what I mean? So we're all a little bit different.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And so then what prompted you to start a pet crematory along with the funeral home?
I got a dog named Otis, and he got sick, meningitis, autoimmune thing, and took him to Madison. He's doing fine. I had to go to the big fancy vet to get him all better, but they did great. They took great care of him. He's doing better. But during that process, they started giving you end of life things, euthanization, what they do with the pets, cremation. They were previously going to a spot that was like 97 miles away.
Oh my gosh.
So that's kind of what started it, because they were like, "You own a funeral home, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're just like, "It'd be great to have something closer." So I'm like, the wheels got turning, and you're just kind of like, "God, I think I could do that. Let me look into it." I know nothing about it. I don't know any legalities. I don't know regulations. I don't know how the process works. So I probably spent the next 8 months kind of researching everything. And that's Otis walking around the background.
Yeah, I've got Eddie here right now. I'm going to give him a treat. So then he's entertained for a minute. So you start this. Now, did you have to have, like putting in a human crematorium, do you have to have the same certification for yourself? Do you have to keep it separate from the funeral home? Like, what is the legalities there?
In Wisconsin, it's completely unregulated. There's absolutely no legality. You might have county legality, depending on the county you live in. The county that I live in, I didn't have any. No zoning, no nothing. I did put it in a country that's, so it's not in a city, so I didn't have any city zoning issues or anything like that. As far as keeping it separate from the funeral home, there wasn't any, like, I called Michael Sharkey on it.
Yeah.
I had him run me through everything. And he said there was, he was like, "No, there's nothing wrong with, using a human retort for pets." Now he said, but morally, he's like, that's on your own thing. And morally, I did get a separate machine for it. It's a completely separate entity.
So do you have a human retort too?
Yeah. I use Melby Funeral Home in Platteville. So
okay.
Matt does all my cremations up there.
Can you as a funeral home own a crematory in your state?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yep. We can own a crematory. You need a crematory operator's license that you get through Cana. But for a pet, no licensing at all. It kind of falls under the incineration standpoint. So it was, as far as starting it, it was no extra work. Now, I did go get my pet crematory operator's license. There's an organization, Pet Funeral Director. They have classes and everything.
Stop.
Yeah. So I did all that just to see if I could learn something when I was trying to learn. So it was like a couple $100 a course. So
I've never heard of such a thing. That's crazy.
Yeah, they're affiliated with Cana. They're kind of Cana but pets. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's yeah.
How has it been going? Has it been busy or?
Yeah. It's only been several months now. My first 2 weeks was like 20.
Wow.
My next month was 49. Next month was 53. Last month was 70. So it's it's trending in the direction that I want it to. So it's been good.
Are you contracting with vets to do like commingled group cremations or any like shelters? Are you just doing consumer only, or how are you doing it?
I'd say walk-ins. I have maybe 1 or 2 walk-ins a week. People off the street that call me. I'd say the majority of them come through a vet. I don't have any contract with them. That's personal preference. Some people do contracts with them. I'm, if you don't like me, you don't have to come to me. I'm not going to put you in a contract. So I'm going to hopefully take good enough care of you that you don't care about a contract. That's kind of was my philosophy on the contract. And yeah, I'm working, I think, with 7 vet offices now. And since it's been going good, I just met with another 6, and we'll see how it's going.
Geez, okay.
Yeah.
So that's growing so fast. Like, is it overwhelming how fast it's growing, or?
No, because I took 8 or 9 months to really plan it out. Did my research, talked to the right people. I had a main veterinarian, a local one, that really helped me get pricing together, get what they would like to see, all those things. Like there's 2 of them, 2 of the local ones. They sat me down and they're like, this is what we want. And then we went back and forth for months and came up with kind of a game plan on everything. And then once we got that together, we started, and it's been pretty seamless. I haven't ran into too many hiccups with it. It's time consuming. You have to run a crematory. But other than running the crematory, it's very, very not hard. So
are you letting people witness the onset and like push the button and everything like you would with human?
It's a charge on the list. I have not had anybody do it yet. So
okay.
Yep, I've had a couple people ask about it, but I haven't had anybody that really wanted to come in and do that yet. So it's there.
Cost-wise, can you talk about cost-wise between pets versus human cremation?
Yeah, it's a lot different pricing-wise. Like, I think I charge $100 to $225, and it kind of goes by the weight of the animal.
Yeah.
So like 0 to 35 pounds is $100. And then like 35 to 75 is like $115. So when you're looking at those things, it's really affordable for people, and it comes with a complimentary urn. And there's all sorts of upgradable urns, paw prints, add-ons, specialties like that you can pick. But if you just want a cremation, it's $100 to have your pet back, and it comes with a complimentary urn. Some people do just want like communal cremation, or that we take their pet in. It's more of taking care of your pet and disposing of it properly, more than it is individual cremation where they have the ashes back.
Yeah.
That's less expensive. That's like $35 an animal.
What do you do with the cremated remains after?
Those we have, I'm fortunate enough, I grew up on a farm around the area.
Yeah.
My dad's got a big farm. And so what we do is we take the cremated remains, the communal ones. They're gathered together. We have a ceremony twice a year, and then we dust to dust. They go into the earth. So
nice. That's cool. That's a cool way to do it. I wish we could do that more with human side, because I don't know if you have the, closet or shelf of unclaimed, unpicked up that we're kind of stuck with, because if we scatter them, it's irreversible, where you don't really want to do that as a funeral home. But I kind of wish we could just do that more and
you
let them do something nice with them rather than have them sit on a shelf or in a closet or something at the funeral home.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you do removals for animals, or they have to bring them in?
When it's done through the vets, it's kind of a weekly or bi-weekly pickup, depending on how busy the vet is. The vets have coolers to keep the pets in. So when they euthanize pets, they'll keep them in the cooler, and I'll get them from there. I usually, every 3 or 4 days, we go pick up. And then if we have house calls, we will go to your house. We don't charge if you bring the pet to us from 8 to 5. We do have an after hours fee, and we do have a come to your house fee. So,
have you run into any funky situations going to houses yet?
Not. I've had some interesting pets. Like I've had some lizards. I've had a parakeet. It's not all cats and dogs. It's majority cats and dogs, I would say. I've had rabbits. The rabbit's more or less a farmer that just wants the rabbit disposed of. He doesn't want the rabbit back, which is just fine. Happy to help.
Funny, like why you wouldn't go just bury it if you're a farmer to me. Like,
yeah. It's interesting, And like I know like Dane County in Wisconsin, they don't let you bury your pet in your backyard. It's like illegal. That's about an hour away from me. But my county has zero problem with you burying your pet. So
I think most people don't realize that when they're burying their pets, they're doing it illegally. Like there are so many restrictions, and I think a lot of people don't even have a clue that is illegal, that they're doing it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that it goes unnoticed, and it's there, but they don't know any better.
Yeah, I know that's so. When Josh ran a crematory, they had a pet cremator, and he was like, the pet people, he's like, they are just a whole different, aside from dealing with families for human witness, he's like, the pet people, they will pay anything because they just want to take care of their pet. But then, going on some of the home removals, he's like, you go in and the pet's been dead for like 3 days in the back room and there's maggots. He's like, we stopped doing it because it just got to be such a almost hazard just because of the weekend and just different scenarios. And he's like, it's not a great thing to walk into and to do. And
yeah. And I've only had that happen once out of several hundred pets. Most people, they call ahead of time or they call right away. And if they call right away, I can give them some instruction, like we want to take your pet into our care right away. It's this, there's things that are going to happen, without going into too much detail. And we can go into detail if they really want us to. But we all know those details as funeral directors, and it's just a more pleasant experience if they call us right away and we can get to you right away. And it's kind of like, like the removal I just did. I'm happy. I want to be there right away, but I'm happy to wait as long as you need, and it's the same thing. And I'm sorry for being late, but it's like you want them to have their time and you want them to do what they need to do. But then when they're ready, you can take them into your care right away. And, cold storage is super important.
So everybody, I'm Kari the Mortician, and I am joined with Mitchell McNett. And tell us where your business is located and what it's called again, just to remind everybody who's
we are in Hazel Green, Wisconsin. It's called McNett Pet Cremations.
Because that earlier I was like, I think he's in Wisconsin, Kansas, farm boy, cornbread. I was like, he's out there somewhere in that area.
Yeah, we're just across the river from Dubuque, so real small.
I love Dubuque. Is beautiful.
It is. It really is. And Galena, if you've ever been there.
I went to Trappist Casket Company for a video and was shocked by Iowa. I was like, this is anything but flat.
Yep.
And it's gorgeous and it's on the river and it's amazing. I think I was just blown away because it's not at all what I thought I was going to be driving through or to. And it was just so beautiful of a drive to get there and cool little town to experience. I accidentally took a wrong turn and went across the river to, another state and turned around and came
real
back.
Close to me then.
But that's all right. Saw the casino and everything.
Yeah.
Got some questions for you. So clients often say paw print isn't their pet, but in my experience, it's because the rear paw is used because of rigor of the front. What do you think? I mean, do you experience the same?
I haven't. I've had one person ask. A lot of people when we start, they go, "Is this going to be my pet? Am I getting my pet back?" And then the other thing is like, "Is this their paw print?" And I'm always just like, we use a software system, and that software system, these people can log in. It creates a login, sends them an email, and they can track their pet through the whole process. They have a crematory tag number, has a barcode that we scan as they're going through the process. And that's really helped create a lot of peace of mind for people with me. There's no paper and pen for me. It's all software system tracking. I also, when I create the clay paw print, I always put their name in there too, in the clay.
Nice.
So a lot of times, you know, they see the paw print, they also see the name, and then on the back I attach the tag with the barcode. So it's just like kind of like tripling up, like this is your pet, I promise.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and that's, you know, when some people were discussing before you got on was, you know, we question humans, but I think people even more question animals. Like, really, is this my dog? Or are you just giving me something, you know, somebody else's turtle or something that you've given back? So, and it's, I think it's almost harder to enforce the trust with the pets for whatever reason. I think because a lot of people hear about the commingled and the large cremations where they do multiple animals at the same time for just the disposition of it, and they assume that's how all animals are done.
Yeah. Yeah. And like communal, if they don't want their ashes back, we do put, you know, multiple animals going at the same time. But if the ashes are returned, I don't do partition or anything like that. It's just individual. If you want the pet back, it's your pet will go in alone. So that situation, it's like, this is your pet. Yeah, I can guarantee it.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's a couple questions. Someone asked about Michigan and our cremation. So in Michigan, it's a, you can't have any 2 of 3 cremation businesses, funeral home, or cemetery. So you can have a crematory associated with a funeral home, different ownership by different people. Same with like a cemetery, but you can't own, like I could not own 2 of any of the 3. They don't want a monopoly. It's the monopoly law. And there are multiple states that have that just because they don't want you to take over kind of an industry in an area, and they want people to be able to choose each piece as you go through it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do you have any pet cemeteries in your area?
Nothing locally. The closest one's like an hour away.
Oh, what do you have locally? Anything or
for pet cemeteries?
No, just anything. You're like everything's an hour away.
Locally, it's like I'm 10 minutes from Dubuque, 10 minutes from Platteville, 10 minutes from Galena. So we have everything here. It's just instead of like 10 minutes in a big city where you go a mile, it's 10 minutes, you go 10 miles around here. So
when I think what some people don't realize about pets too is their body temperatures, like with dogs, their body temperature is much higher than humans. They decompose super rapidly. Yep. So how do you have to defrost them in order to cremate them? Like if they've put them in a freezer and brought them in on Monday after a weekend, or do you just place them in the cremator frozen?
No need to defrost. The machine that I bought is able, there's different levels of burners and crematory machines. So depending on the machine you buy, it should be, you know, I haven't had a problem with any frozen. So.
Do you have any place you recommend buying cremation jewelry for pets or urns for pets, or anywhere that you've worked with that you would recommend?
I use, when I started it, I used a lot of my wholesalers for the funeral home. A lot of the same wholesalers. Around here, we have, you have Crescent, you have Brown Wilbert, those type of ones are kind of my two main suppliers for everything.
Nice.
Yeah. And they offer like Brown Wilbert, Crescent, they have specific pet catalogs now and like pet sections that they'll set you up with and help you get made. Because it's for them, it's a pretty good size industry. So it's separate from the funeral home. They kind of have certain urns listed.
Yeah, like paw print urns and different animals that are cast on the urns that you can get. And I mean, you can use any urn for a pet. You can use any necklace for a pet. But there are some that are very specific towards, just like they're specific towards hobbies, things like that. You can get very specific towards different pets.
Yeah, I think I have a sample here. But yeah, like this is my urn catalog that they have at the vets. Right here. So nice. Each vet has one of these. So it comes with a complimentary urn, but they have upgradable ones too. And those are all in here. And all the pricing and everything. The jewelry's in the back. So.
I mean, like my lab, my first dog, he was a lab Newfie mix, and he yielded as much cremated remains as, I mean, an adult human. So you can't just get a little baby cremation container for them. You've got to get a whole urn, like you would with a human. So it's just because they're animals doesn't mean they yield a smaller amount of cremated remains always. But also, like with babies, think of Josh cremated a turtle, and there's like no skeletal structure with a turtle. So kind of like with a baby or an infant that we cremate, we're gonna try to keep as much as we can in terms of cremated remains, but there's going to be very, very, very little that we're going to be able to yield because there's very little bone, and bone is what cremated remains are made out of. So, you know, when your animal is a duck, he did a duck once too. Our pet turkey, he did. There's not a lot of bone there, so there's not a lot of cremated remains when you get them back. Even if, like with the turkey, is a large animal, but there's not a lot of bone. It's, you know, feathers don't equate cremated remains. So, yeah.
I've had some, like the birds and the lizards we did. You have to get the, you know, similar pan to use to the infants. You have to get it out and take care of them that way. So that way, you know, shut the air off, those types of things, and make sure you can keep as much as you can.
And when Mitchell means turn the air off, there's a blower that circulates the air so the gas doesn't build up in the machine. And if you have that blowing, what does turn to the lighter ash is going to blow out of that tray or pan, and it's going to be gone. So you lose what little cremated remains. So you almost place them in a really warm machine and then let the residual heat break down the animal into the cremated remains like you would an infant or a child. So there's not direct heat. There's not blowing in there. It's a much calmer environment than it typically would be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty good science. You explained it good.
What happens? Have you ever had a zoo call? Like, what would you do if a zoo called you? I mean, you can only handle so big of an animal.
Yeah. My machine's only rated at, it's supposed to be rated at 330 pounds. I'd say it's more like 250.
Okay.
It's more like a reasonable number. 330 pounds would be a lot for that machine. After that, it's, you know, if they're any bigger than that, I won't be able to help them. So
do you know your
equine machines? I don't own one of those for horses and those types of things. There are pet crematories that own those, but they're quite a bit less than the ones that do cats and dogs.
Yeah, I'd like to go find one and go visit like a large animal crematory. It'd be interesting. We have one opening in our area, which Christina, who's on the video, or Christine told me about, that I didn't even know was opening in our town, is a alkaline hydrolysis pet crematory, because like you said, it's not regulated. So alkaline hydrolysis is not legal here, but you can open a crematorium and a hospice, a pet hospice.
Oh.
So I don't know what that entails.
Yeah.
At all, but it'll be interesting. I want to go visit the open house when they open, because I want to know what a pet hospice is all about and what that means in terms of everything.
I know some of the vets in the area offer palliative care, but I don't know much more than that.
I feel like at that point, it's just when you euthanize the animal. That's what most people. I don't know what that. Comfort levels just to keep them alive for how long. I don't know what that means. So I'll be interested to learn more. Now, big news, Mitchell just got engaged.
I did. Yeah.
I gotta ask a question about your lady love. Does she work in the business? Does she help you with the business at all, or?
No, she helps. You know, she's every body that we have casketed and presented, she looks over. You know, she was an event planner before this. She's extremely detail oriented. Also, it's nice to have that public eye, somebody that doesn't look at it through a funeral director's scope. And I always appreciate that positive criticism from somebody like that, because it's like, they'll be like, are you sure you have the right lipstick color? You know what I mean? Or their color is just a little bit off, or maybe you should paint their nails. And it's like, I can do all those things, and I just need to hear about it. And it's nice to hear about it from one person rather than several hundred people coming through. Because you always want to do your best for each family. So not directly involved, but, still dating someone that's a funeral director in a small town, you're still involved somewhat.
Yeah. Well, and that she's comfortable around it. And I think that's just important. When you started dating, and I'm totally going to ask you this, I never asked if any questions were on. How was that starting to date? Like saying, hey, I'm a funeral director, because it is very different to date a funeral director in some ways. So how was that when you guys first started dating?
Maybe we'll go back a little bit before that. We met online dating.
Okay.
And she's from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And I was online for about a couple years before that. I'm in my 30s. I'm in a small town. I own a funeral home. And, so sitting down to dinner. I had plenty of first dates, and you sit down and they're like, so what do you do? And you're instantly like, here we go. It's like, this is going to go one of two ways. And they're either very interested in what you do and very supportive, or they're just like, yeah, I'm okay. Like, let's finish dinner and that'll be it. And it didn't bat an eye when we started dating. She thought it was very interesting. She thought it was cool. She thought she saw the good that you do. And so like for her, it was, I don't even think she blinked. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I say with like Josh and I started dating, he's been in the funeral business in some way or death care for, 27 years or 8 years. And so we got to skip like 3 dates or 4 dates worth of content by like trying to explain what we do and why we do it and all of that. And it was so comfortable just jumping past that because it wasn't a huge like, oh my God, why would you do that? And do you do this? And do they sit up? And blah, 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 blah. So it was kind of nice. So it is nice to have someone that's just comfortable right off the bat with all of it. A couple questions for you. Is Otis a comfort dog? Is he a therapy dog? He's
in training. Oh, yeah. Let me see if he'll come here. Odie. Where, bud?
No, that's a negative.
But no, he's working on it. When he had that meningitis for about a year, we had to kind of hang up all training and everything and just focus on his health. But now we're going to get back into it since
How old is he?
He's 4. Yeah.
Okay. So he's kind of out of his puppy stage. Yeah. So he's in a good age to train him. He's so pretty.
Yeah.
He's so pretty. Otis.
Yeah. He's always having a good time. So,
that's Eddie. I want Eddie to be a therapy, or I'm hoping he'll be a therapy dog, but he is all puppy still. And they say about the Bernie Doodle breed is that even if you get them trained, they all of a sudden go into like, what? Like they just have idiot mode still, no matter their age. They just snap into it and snap out of it. But he doesn't have a mean bone in his body. So I'm like, well, maybe one day I'm hoping
those are the best kind of dogs for it.
Yeah, he's just a lover.
Yeah, and I've had people that like know he's here and know he's back there, and I meet with families and they're like, I also live at the funeral home.
Yeah,
I'm in one of those funeral homes that's half house, and so he's always in the back, and they know it. So I'll have families be like, hey, can you bring Otis out? Like, can he be here while I'm meeting with you? I'm like, sure.
Aww.
Like, you know what I mean? They're like, we're dog people, and I'm just like, sure, absolutely. I'm like, he's not quite perfect, he's not polished, but they don't, if they're dog people, they don't mind. But I've never offered to bring him out ahead of time or anything like that. I don't think he's quite ready, but if they ask for him, absolutely.
Yeah, you can't deny that. What kind of dog is he?
He's an Australian Shepherd. So they're a very nice, sweet, obedient breed, but a lot of energy.
Yeah. Well, Ed just wants to hug because he sees us hug and he wants to hug. And when he stands up, he is fully face to face. He's built kind of like a Great Dane almost, I feel like. And so he's just tall and gangly. And so he stands up and wants to hug you, but he wants to do that to everybody he meets. So that is the one thing we're really trying to break him up, because I'm like, you're going to knock everybody over, dude. Like, you are a beast of a dog. but he just wants to love. It's so hard when they want to love and you have to break them of that. It's like counteractive of what you want in the end.
Yeah, it's so hard to be like, hey, I need you to stay over there, even though you want to be right next to me. And that's hard.
It's like, but I love you. I love you.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah.
Do you have people, I talked about this before you jumped on too, is people bringing their animals in to say goodbye to their humans? Do you do that often? Do you have that request much? Or
I've had that over the years. Yeah, I'd say a couple times a year. And we've all, as funeral directors, we had the boxes brought in, and we've had to put them in the casket with the people, or in the urns with them. So there's that end, and then I've had them bring them in ahead of time because they wanted them to say goodbye. So
yeah, I've got one this week, and I was talking about that, and it is interesting watching the animals all say goodbye to their human, and they all react so differently, but it's a pretty quick, like, oh, that's not really them. I'm going to kind of go over here now, or they're like, won't look at them because they smell funny, or, like all these different reactions. I love seeing it just because it's getting to learn more about that chemistry between, or that grief process, I guess, with animals. That's interesting to see. Yeah. Do you get people that are like, oh my gosh, you have a dog because I'm allergic, you got to get him out of here? If it was in a building or around or anything?
I haven't had that, but I don't really bring him in the funeral home a lot. I keep him pretty
away.
He pretty much stays out of there. I mean, he gets in my office and that's about it. Yeah.
He's like, I want to run. Please let me play. One more question. Well, someone had asked, can you stay during the cremation? Take your pet home after. My 17-year-old Maltese is home on hospice right now. And can I be there with them?
Yeah. I've had people watch the entire cremation and be there the whole time. I'm sorry.
Oh,
he is. I've been on an interview for just too long. I've had people that wanted to stay the whole time, and I've asked that. Actually, 2 of them are kind of prearranged. Not really prearranged. Like, they called me ahead of time. My pet's going to pass away. I want to be there the whole process. Is that doable? I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah. However
we can help you. We do charge for that. Tell them the charge. Like you said, people love their pets. They don't blink. They're just And they think it's normal funeral home prices, like for humans and those types of things, and it's not anywhere close. So they're just like, they're just like, oh, that's it. And it's like, for me, it's still a good chunk of money. So I apologize, but
yeah. Well, and I think because people don't realize you don't have the funeral charge and overhead and everything on top of the crematory, where with the pets, it's just the crematory pricing to cremate the pet. So it's a lot. It's just the one part where on a funeral home contract, it's going to be a single line item for like $340 or $350 or whatever it is price for the crematory. It's a whole different process and procedure and everything. Yeah. How long does a pet cremation typically take compared to a human?
The first one of the day with a cold machine is always, it's usually your largest animal too. So 3 or 4 hours. After that, hour or 2, once it's warmed up.
So very similar to humans.
Yeah. Yeah. Once it's warm, it's much faster.
Nice. Well, cool. Well, I will let you get to Otis. We're going to not keep you any longer because I know dogs, it's like been 4 hours to him. He's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Come on, Dad. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining and chatting with me.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. It was fun, and hopefully you learned something from people watching.
And congratulations on your engagement.
Thanks. Yeah, we're really excited.
It's so fun. Yeah, I'm like, I barely know Mitchell, and I don't know his lady, but I am so like when you were on your trip because they got engaged in Italy?
Yeah.
Really, yeah. And so the whole trip, I'm like waiting to see if there's an engagement post, and there was, and I was like, yes.
Yeah, it's a small town, so there's like a bunch of my mom's friends and ladies that were like zooming in on our hand every picture. I waited until the last day. A little suspense, but
I love it. That's hilarious. The little lady zooming in. That's
yeah.
That's so fun. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Yeah, take care, guys.